This literally fell off. What the hell? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Anyways, welcome to Jitterbug Station. I'm your host for this evening. We have Mr. Waddles, as usual, our co-host, sitting right here, and today is going to be a long one, or maybe not. Like, I'm thinking it's going to be a long one, but we'll see how well I can yap for the first time ever on camera. So like I said in my intro video, I don't know if you've seen it. I wish I can plug it up here, but I'm not sure how to do that yet. But if I learn how to do it, then it's gonna be up here. So, but yeah, as I said in the intro video, right? I wanted to start by talking about my top 3 books of 2026. So, I was a huge bookworm back in school because that was the only personality I had back then. I just want to say my truth about that part. And I was really into books as a kid. But anyways, going back to the origins of me as a reader, I feel like every reader should have an origin story because you just don't get into books just like that. It needs something, right? I mean, I hope I'm right, at least. But yeah, what I wanted to say was I did spend a lot of my life reading. I got my sister at the age of 7, and all of a sudden I was not the family, princess anymore. So I had to keep myself busy while my mom and my dad used to be taking care of her or doing normal stuff, parent stuff. And since I had no friends because just, a socially inept person right here. So the only thing that kept me company was books. And I read exclusively fiction. I started out with the comic books that they have for kids, and then I got into the Malgudi Days book by R.K. Narayan, or is it R.K. Lakshman? I get them both confused. I'm so sorry. But I think they both worked on it anyway, so it is kind of 1 + 1. So that was my first major book with no pictures in it. And then I also read the Enid Blyton's books. I think there was this series that's not exactly the Famous 5 or the one about the 7 kids. So it's somewhere in the middle. I think it was the foundation for the Famous 5 series because it was about 5 kids and they were child detectives running around in their town. I forgot the name, but in post, if I remember, I'm gonna put it up. But that one was good too. Those were my first, books without pictures when I was 7 years old, I think, 8 years old. But yeah, mostly I was really into fiction and fantasy books. Namely, the Percy Jackson series. I was introduced to it at the age of 12, and I had read the Harry Potter series before that, or probably simultaneously, and I knew at that age that, Percy Jackson was the thing, because it had so much more than what Harry Potter had to offer. But yeah, so I really love Percy Jackson. It was such a huge fundamental part of my life. I grew up thinking that, Greek gods existed and that, maybe I might be one of them or something like that, even though the logic wouldn't make sense. But it was such a great series. And ironically, it has the best romance arc that I think I've seen so far because it's just so good, the Persebet thing, if you're using that ship name. But because, they go through so much and they stick together and they do get to be together. And the pairing is so cute, chaotic golden retriever boy and, the little black cat kind of girl, the smarty pants of the relationship. It's really cute. So, and also I loved the Heroes of Olympus series, and I loved the Leo and Calypso arc, to be honest, because it was a huge, until the Heroes of Olympus series came out, I had the hugest crush on Percy. But then when the Heroes of Olympus thing came out, I was so into Leo. I was oh my god, he's so adorable, he's such a dork. But yeah, I really like their the thing that Rick Riordan gave to Calypso and Leo, even though obviously Odyssey just came out, and I'm sure nobody is a huge fan of Calypso right now. But the readers, I mean, just for the Rick Riordan universe, Calypso did deserve more, I guess. But I don't know. I guess it's a controversial opinion to have. But yeah. Yeah. So I've been in a reading slump for around 4 or 5 years, and then recently I got back into it. I got myself a reading journal. I don't know if it's over here, but let me find it. Just give me a second. Hold on, guys.
A few moments later.
So this is my reading journal. It's a cute little thing where you can like customize stuff. So like I got my name put on there. I guess name reveal. I don't think I've introduced myself to strangers. So hi. So this reading journal is really good. It's from Muddy Jumpers. It's a very templated kind of book or journal that you just kind of like write stuff down. Like it's like writing a book report basically in school. But it's been nice to actually maintain that because, it helps me kind of read more intentionally, if that makes sense. That sounds like a very white lady thing to say, but it makes me read very intentionally and like kind of keep track of certain things that I want to talk about or like write about or just kind of express basically. And I got a shout out to Barnes & Noble for their Nook Lowlight Plus, Fort Plus, because that has been just getting me into my reading streak. Like I used to use the Kindle before, and it's really old, and it didn't have the light option, and it doesn't have the buttons, and I'm a huge fan of the buttons. I used to have this Kindle, the first gen, or like the 7th gen, I think, e-reader, and it had buttons and it had a keyboard. I'll find it, I'll put a picture up here for you to see. But it used to be so good, and I used to have this case that had a little light come up, I used to read at night with it. I read all the Twilight books on that. I read so much more on that Kindle. But then the other Kindle that I have was the screen was smaller, like there were no buttons, no lighting, and I mean I did spend like 6 years with it, but I just didn't really find much going for me with that one. So I got the Nook Lowlight 4 Plus, and it has buttons and it has light, and it's a bigger screen, and that's all I needed. And it's been so so good. I can't even describe it. I do like physical books still, but just, having like a small slab that you can just carry around, put it up, is just amazing, if you ask me. It's one of the greatest inventions of humankind. It's right up there, after like sliced bread or hot chocolate or peanut butter. Not that I like those things in that order, but, people do tend to say that those are the biggest human inventions that we have. So what else? But yeah, coming to 2026, I did read a whole lot of books this year, to be honest. I used this app called Fable, which lets me track all my reading things, all the books that I'm reading, stuff like that. And I think I got like a 120 or like 130 day reading streak, and I'm really proud of it because I haven't had that kind of streak since I was in school, to be honest. So yeah, it's been great. I've read like around 30 to 31 books, right? And I thought I would pick out like top three books and just talk about them for a second. I just books that made kind of an impact on me, I would say. Like the ones that stood out from the other books. I mean, not to say that the other books were not great, but they just stood out. What can I say? The first one we're going to talk about is Butter by Asako Suzuki. No, that's not the name. God damn, wait a second. I think I got it wrong. I am so bad at names. of like, I'm so bad at author names unless they're writing like series, because yeah, I don't know, I don't have an excuse, I'm just a bad person. Oh, the name is Asako Yuzuki. I think I said Suzuki, but it's Yuzuki. So yeah, she wrote Butter, and I would like to say that I got this from a recommendation on Instagram. It was like a bookstagram person who recommended this on their post. So, and like, obviously the cover was nice. I do judge some books by their covers because, you know, the graphic designers behind some of those covers are really goated. Like, some of my favorite ones are like really good. But yeah, so the way that the Instagram, the creator posted about Butter was that it's a book about a serial killer and a journalist involving food. And in my head, when I read that kind of blurb or like a description about it, I was expecting like a culinary serial killer, like a serial killer who's a chef, and like the journalist who's interviewing the chef, and like probably the chef was incorporating some kind of food related weapons or like poisons and stuff to kill their victims. So I was expecting it to be like a serial killer thriller kind of thing, like Mindhunter. No, not Mindhunter. I would say more like Silence of the Lambs, Zodiac Killer, stuff like that, basically. Like, just kind of like a journalist chasing a serial killer, if you will. And when I started reading it, like at the beginning was fine because I am a bit used to the Japanese writing style. They do tend to get into the nitty-gritties of every single thing that they do, and that's fine. I really like reading it. So and I was like waiting for it to get to the point where, you know, it's like, oh, serial killer, and then like, oh, the journalist is like, oh, hey, you're the serial killer, what is what? And then the serial killer is like, yeah, just don't I don't know what I'm trying to do, but like, I just thought it would be like an intense conversation where, like, you know, they sit in front of each other and they're like, the serial killer is like kind of messing up with the journalist's head, and then the journalist is like, you know, all of that, like very Silence of the Lamb kind of thing, you know. But it was a little bit like that, but very differently, like in a very softer, in a very more subtler way, because it is about the serial killer and the journalist talking to each other through like the jail thingy, and it is about the serial killer kind of, you know, messing with the journalist's head, and the journalist kind of coming to terms with how they live their lives and like stuff like that. But it doesn't have any of the drama that you would expect to have. Like, there's no investigations of the crimes, there's no such thing, because you do have to understand the characters to understand what I'm saying. So the book is about this serial killer called Kaji, yeah. The book is about Kaji, and she's a serial killer because she's been accused of killing 3 oldish men with you know, like basically 3 men that she's been seeing kill themselves, and she's the last person that they've seen before they kill themselves. So, you know, people assume that she had something to do with them dying, or like, you know, she either like drove them to death, or like, you know, she just helped them kill themselves, stuff like that. And she's put on trial, and there's a lot of commentary going on about her and everything, because the most shocking thing about Kaji is that she is, drumroll, fat. I said it. So yeah, I mean, it's literally what it is in the book. Like, she's fat, and like she's okay with it, and that kind of sets people off, and they're like, how can she, you know, kind of trap or like be with 3 guys at the same time? Oh my god, like she must have used some kind of trap. Like, the whole thought process behind accusing and putting her on trial is almost like they don't believe that she's capable of it, and that she can't be the one who can get away with stuff like this because she's not even pretty. So like the author makes you and the journalist kind of, look at that aspect of things, where it's like where sometimes in the real world, like we do see, like there might be like a beautiful looking woman who must have killed a lot of people, guys maybe, and then there would be a post about it, and then under the comments the guys might be saying stuff like, oh hey, if it's her then I'm fine with it because she's so pretty or hot. Like that kind of societal norm that you have to be a certain way to get away with certain things is something that the author really deals with, and I found it pretty refreshing and like good to have been introduced to. And the book is about this journalist as well. She is a single working lady, kind of just like any other oldish Gen Z or like a young millennial, kind of like doing her job, trying to take care of herself and not really taking care of herself. Like she lives on convenience store food and like she doesn't really cook. There's not much interest for her in that kind of thing. All she thinks about is work, 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 work. And she meets Kaji, the serial killer, and the way that she meets Kaji too is that Kaji has this blog where she talks about all the foods that she likes, and her and the journalist friend suggests that she write a letter to Kaji asking for a recipe rather than asking for like an interview to interview her. So Kaji obliges, she says yes, and Kaji also has a blog which she wrote in before she got arrested and everything, where she would talk a lot about food. Like not as a connoisseur but just as a foodie. Like she's just a foodie. She goes to fancy restaurants but she also eats out at the food trucks or stuff like that. So yeah, our journalist goes over there. Like Kaji kind of like introduces her to the simple pleasures of food, and like she starts off with this tiny dish called which involves like butter, rice, and soy sauce, and that's it. Like freshly cooked rice, like an expensive brand of butter, and some soy sauce. And the journalist goes home and tries it, and she's in love with it. And there's this whole thing that goes on with the journalist and the serial killer, where the serial killer makes her go and do stuff about food, like experience food or eat certain dishes at certain places in certain times, where it's almost like the serial killer is living vicariously through the journalist. And it's fine for the journalist. Like she does get drawn into this Kaji character. She really almost wants to please her in every way, but it kind of bursts apart when she realizes that it's all for nothing. Like the book is basically about two women in different points of their lives who are almost the same age, and one of them is very into the idea that pleasing men, being with men, cooking for men, taking care of them is what makes a woman. And then the other one is all about just, having a kind of a sense of self, a sense of independence, and having a community, being a villager of a village and forming a village and being in it. So we have Kaji on one hand, who is all into like the whole trad wife kind of thing, where she's like, women who work are like not women at all, like they don't deserve to be called women. She has multiple outbursts about it, and the journalist Rika has no such notions. So it's about the way that society sees somebody like Rika or somebody like Kaji, and like how they react to it. And there's a point in the book where Rika, after eating so much of the food that Kaji asks her to eat, she starts to put on some weight, and people immediately start to get worried about her, even though she was actually malnourished before she got a bit plump. But yeah, this like those are the little like aggressors that everybody faces. Well, as time goes on, Rika realizes that Kaji is deep down just a normal girl who wanted just like, attention from people around her. It's not like she hated women, it's just that she wanted to be them, and she didn't know how, like, she knew how to be with men. She knew how to, like, get into their heads or be close to them and stuff like that, but she never could really figure out female friendships or female companionships. And that made her lash out and want her to be, so into it. And the fact that people died is not exactly like, that doesn't really make her a serial killer, because technically the men that died because she broke up with them, and they were so dependent on her as a caretaker, or somebody that does the cooking or keeps them company, and like just kind of is basically like a maid, leaves. And her leaving or her absence kind of drives them into a depression, causing them to either get heart attacks or kill themselves, which is also a kind of commentary on how men view women. Because it's like, I've seen it in so many different ways, where it's like either the wife dies, or like the wife leaves the husband, and the husband just becomes this baby that has to be taken care of, and that all the other women in the family have to pitch in and take care of this big crying baby. Like, it's something I think that transcends cultures and countries, because I've seen it in like Indian cultures, or I've heard of it in Western cultures, stuff like that, because like it's so expected of women to be the person who's a sponge, and like absorbs all the toxicity that the guy would have to endure in his day outside, and then like also cook him a warm meal, keep him happy, send him out there again. But she herself won't have that kind of thing going for her, because she's the one dealing with all of this. It reminds me of this meme. I don't know if I can find it. I've seen it on Twitter. It's about two men at a workplace, and one of them is young and one of them is old. And then the younger guy, the older guy yells at the younger guy, and the younger guy is like sad. And there's this it's a comic, and it shows a panel of them both going home, and like the younger guy goes home to his own flat where he's alone and he's sad, and then the older guy, the one that scolded him or made his day worse, goes home to a loving family with a wife and kids, with a hot meal served to him, and the younger guy has to cook his own meal. So like the fact that just kind of marrying somebody or having a wife kind of gives you that freedom to just not think about taking care of yourself, not think about doing your own dishes, nothing at all. Like, all you have to do is just a second. So, as I was saying, so at the end of the day, what I wanted to say about Butter by Asako Izuki was that it's less about a serial killer and the motives behind a person being a serial killer, and more about the kind of ways the society treats different women, and how the women also kind of like react to this kind of treatment that they get. It's not just about Rika or Kaji. It's about Rika's friend Reiko, who has quit her job to be with her husband, have kids, and she's not able to have kids, but her husband doesn't want to come with her to the fertility treatments because he's scared that it might be his fault that they're not having kids, and how that affects her marriage. And like countless other people, other women in Rika's life who either quit their job or like kind of like try to juggle motherhood and wifehood and like being an employee, and it almost always comes down to having to choose being a wife and a mother to being an employee. These are all things that kind of they're all very glaringly obvious as something that we've all seen happen to women in our lives, or we've heard it happen to other people in their lives, but it's just something that the author took the time to write and like make you kind of reflect on it. So I felt like that was very a very well done book, and it was refreshing. And I mean, like, I did go into it expecting like a thriller or a mystery kind of book, but it was more of just two or like a bunch of women navigating life in modern Japan, and like the way that Japanese culture makes them kind of shrink into themselves, and just like the mere fact of putting on some weight might, change the way people look at you or treat you, and having to make peace with that, which Rika does at the end. Like, she goes so far as getting her own apartment just so that she could have the space to invite all her friends and have a very traditional Thanksgiving dinner, which Kaji actually wanted to do so badly that just before she got arrested. So, and it was almost like Rika got to experience what Kaji actually wanted to experience. And in a way, Kaji was still living vicariously through Rika, but Kaji does mess it up by, slandering Rika, by saying that, she was harassing her and stuff like that. So in the end, it's just about what you do with what you're given, and how important it is to take up the space, as much space as you can, because in the end, nobody's going to give it to you. And yeah, it was just a very thoughtful book. It had a lot of impact on me, and it's just something that people should read once in their lives, I feel. So I would definitely recommend it to any of my friends, honestly. But yeah, I just thought I would kind of give it a bit of a spotlight. Not that it doesn't have a spotlight already. It's a very famous book, but I understand why it's famous. It's a really good book. Moving on. Next book. It's been a while, I think. I mean, I hope it's not been a while, because, I worked so hard on editing that thing. Oh, and I wanted to show you guys this squishy thing that I got. It's supposed to be a cube. I think it's a ripoff of the Nido thing. And it's like supposed to be like a cube, but it's been a week since I got it, and like it's kind of starting to lose its shape, but it is very nice. Like, it's a very satisfying squishy thing that I have, so like it's great for my anxiety. The next book in our top 3 books of 2026 category is, drumroll, I don't know. Anyways, the second book is Silent Patient. I forgot the name of the author again. I really don't know. I will have to look him up. Oh shit. Where's my phone? Just be right back. Okay, so it's by Alex Michaelides. Michaelides? I'm gonna go with Michaelides. Michael Eats? Uber Eats? Okay. That's so cringy. Anyways. So yeah, it's Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. It's a thriller. It's a bit of a thriller, not gonna lie. And it's a good one. It really got to me, like, the way that the book is written, the way that it's about so much of, like, the way that love, like, kind of changes you and, like, kind of affects you in your life is just amazingly written. And I also like the fact that it's not just from, like, a woman's love, or like just a guy's love or a woman's love. It's about both of them, like, in different relationships. Like, basically the book, right, the plot, spoiler alert if you've not read it or if you want to read it, it's about this lady who kills her husband. She's an artist, and she's found discovered with her husband's dead body, and like she says that somebody came in and killed him, but she says that she doesn't kill him, basically, but nobody believes her. And then she, after her trial and before the judgment for the trial comes out, she does a painting, and then she stops talking, and they deem her to be mentally unstable to go to prison, so they put her in a mental asylum kind of thing, like a psychiatric house. I don't know what they're called, but yeah. And there's this therapist, Theo, who is really obsessed with her case, and he wants to work with her, see if he can make her talk. He's like the lady, I think her name is Alice. I might be wrong. I'm just really bad at things like this. I'm so sorry. But yeah, he's really into her case because like she's a bit of a celebrity in the psychiatric circles because she doesn't talk, and every psychiatrist wants to be the one that makes her talk. So obviously he wants to work with her, and after the fame of the case dies down, he sees an opening at the psychiatric house or the mental asylum, whatever, and he applies. He gets in there. He kind of rallies to be her therapist, and he gets it, and he speaks to her daily. But the first time she sees him, she attacks him, but then afterwards she just sits there and doesn't say a word. And in the meantime, we're given a glimpse into Theo's life. Theo has a wife named Kate, who he met while on a date with somebody else, which is kind of important because Kate and Theo hit it off, and they kind of cheat on their partners a bit before they, come clean, break up with them, and then get married. And fast forward, Theo finds out that Kate has been cheating on him with somebody else. He sees her emails and he kind of loses it. He goes to his therapist. Every therapist has a therapist. So he goes to his therapist and she says that he should leave her. But Theo really loves Kate and he wrestles with the idea of, whether he should actually do it or not. And I wouldn't be doing it justice if I go about describing how Theo comes to the conclusion of not confronting Kate or just being with her no matter what. But the way that he wrestles with it, the grief that he has, the questions that he has, the anger, the rage, the depression of it all, it's so well done. I was Theo for a few seconds in that book, and it just made me cry thinking about almost feeling the things that he was feeling. And it was, it shook me. It was really good writing. So Theo decides to stay with Kate, and even though he knows she's cheating, he's very depressed. The relationship sours, and in the meantime, he still works on Alice, and there's a point where he, kind of starts to investigate Alice's life, and we are also given a glimpse of Alice's life through a journal that she kept, where she describes her loving marriage with Gareth. I think her husband's name is, or was. She really, really loves him. He got her through a very depressive time in her life. She comes from a very dysfunctional family, and he takes care of her. He loves her unconditionally, and she just sees him as everything, everything to her. He is her anchor in life. So that's how we are introduced to Alice's marriage and her love for her husband, and we also have Theo with his love for his wife and the way that he also sees her as a crucial part of his life. I mean, as they should, because that's what love and marriage is. You are with your person. What could happen? So yeah, basically, Alice is an artist, so Theo goes into her life. He meets with her gallery curator friend who suggests that maybe Alice should be allowed to paint. So he gives her paints and he lets her paint, and she paints something where it's the asylum is on fire and Theo and her are escaping, stuff like that. So she also gets into an altercation with another patient who disfigures the thing. Because everybody thinks that Alice is into Theo, so the patient disfigures the painting and Alice stabs her in the eye, stuff like that. And after that, she starts talking. In the meantime, Theo follows Kate around. Even though he knows that she is cheating, he somehow still has the morbid curiosity to see who it is. And he follows her on a run that she goes on, and then he sees her meet this random guy. And he follows, I mean, he sees them meet for a couple of times as the days go by. And then one day he decides to follow the guy to where he goes. And he sees that he goes into a very nice house and he already has a wife. And Theo just stands there outside looking into their windows like from afar and like just wondering if the wife knows, feeling like he has a duty to tell the wife because, you know, it's only fair because, like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not really familiar with the whole cheating games, how they go, but technically you do have a right to know if you're getting cheated on, right? So a few days go by, and Theo decides that it's time to kind of like confront the wife. Sorry. In the meantime, Alice starts talking, and once she starts talking, she doesn't stop. She describes the incident in great detail. She says that a guy came up to her while she was painting in her garage. While she was painting in her garage, and takes her hostage, waits until her husband comes back, and then shoots the husband in front of her and leaves. But that's not the story or the conclusion that the police and the detectives come to, because like Alice's fingerprints are on the gun, nobody else's fingerprints are on the gun, and stuff like that. So Theo knows that she's lying and that she's just kind of like playing them around and stuff like that. So he tells his supervisor, and the supervisor's like, "Oh, okay, we'll think about it." And in the meantime, Theo decides to tell the wife of, Gareth, that, his and her partners are literally cheating on them with each other. And he goes into her house and he tries to talk to her, but she panics. So he kind of, forces her to sit in a chair and tells her that she's getting cheated on, and she doesn't believe it. And then he's like, "Oh, hey, let's wait for your husband to come back home and we'll see." And then the husband comes back home, it's Gareth, and yeah, I know, I was shook as well. Yeah. And it's Gareth, and Theo overpowers him, makes them sit like, next to each other, or like with their backs to each other, stuff like that. I didn't pay attention to that detail because I was already mind blown by the fact that it's Theo and Alicia, like they've met before, if that's not obvious by the way I'm saying this story. But basically Theo's wife and Alicia's husband are cheating together on the both of them. So Theo asks Gareth if he would rather die for Alicia, or if he would rather have Alicia die so that he can live. And Gareth obviously says, kill her. I don't want to die for her. I want to be alive. And so Theo leaves the gun. He has a gun with him, obviously. He leaves the gun. He unties Alicia. He's tied them up. Sorry, I'm just... Yeah. So he unties Alicia and he tells her that, hey, it's up to you now. He told you to die. Do you want to leave him be, or do you want to do something? It's up to you. And then he leaves. And then Alicia, because of her trauma with her like dysfunctional family and the way that she has seen or like anchored Gareth in her life as the ultimate thing in her life, and when he himself tells her to like kind of sentences her to die, because if Theo had listened to Gareth, like she would have died. It's just that Theo didn't listen to Gareth, and so it's like she's dead already, and in that anger she kills him. And she's inspired by this Greek mythology of this thing. I forgot the name. I'll put it up. But basically, it's the kind of like the same thing where there's this Greek woman and her husband, and the husband is sentenced to die, but he asks the woman to die for him instead, and then she does it, and then she comes back, but she can't speak anymore. So that's what Alicia does. She follows that mythology or myth, and she paints the painting that she does, and she names it after the woman of the mythology, and she doesn't speak. So like basically it's like a loop of the events. Like you think that it's all going in the same direction, but actually, like, you know, Theo's wife's thing and all that happened before, and like stuff like that. And it's a really well written book. Like the twist was chef's kiss. So yeah, Alicia has all of this written in her journal, and Theo, after Alicia has started speaking, he drugs her, puts her into a coma, and tries to take her book away because he doesn't want to get punished. He just did what he did because he was cheated on. But he can't find her diary, and he thinks that, you know, it's fine, like it's probably gone, or that she wouldn't really write about all of this because she probably doesn't know it's him and stuff like that. But she does write it. Like the night after she speaks to him and tells him the story of what happened, she writes in her diary that it's him, it's Theo. He's come back, like it's the same guy that did it and all that. But Theo doesn't know that she wrote all that in her diary. He just thinks that she just wrote up until her husband dies. So the police find the diary, and they go home to Theo's house, and they tell him, and that's it. Theo is kind of resigned to his fate, because what else can you do? But yeah, the story is probably not well told by me. It's better told by the author, obviously, but I just loved the writing style, the plot twist, just for the sake of the plot twist. Like the creativity of it all was really good, and in terms of the emotions and stuff, it's so really well done. Like I said, like I was Theo when he was wrestling with the questions of whether he should still be with Kate or not after finding out that she's been cheating on him. And like the pattern of Kate as well, like the way that she met her husband too is through cheating on somebody else, and like she just follows that pattern. And the thing that really that the author kind of spoke about in the whole cheating arc of it all is the callousness of it that the other person does when they decide to cheat on somebody. The way that this life partner of yours doesn't even factor in your thoughts or your decisions in life, and they are somebody else. They are an other. The way that Theo becomes the other guy now because she's more into the new guy. Like the callousness of it all, the casual way that she tries to like get out of spending time with Theo just so she can spend time with the other guy. Like the casual way that cheating is done from the cheater's perspective or whatever was done really well. Like it's just so, like, the pain that Theo feels from it all is very valid. I mean, obviously it is valid, but the way that he finds out, the messages, the emails that she writes to Gareth, or like, it's just really well done. It just kind of put things in perspective for me, as in like how heartless you have to become to a certain extent if you are willing to cheat on somebody. So yeah. But I mean, and like the fact that like you can't just, and I did understand Theo's dilemma with letting her go, because you can't just cut somebody off, because it's not as easy as just leaving her or something like that, because she is now such an ingrained aspect of his life, or of himself. It'll be like he's sawing off a limb, or while he's not on anesthesia, and while he's getting punched in the stomach by something. So that's literally the kind of pain that somebody like Theo would feel, especially when he loves her so much that, yeah. So I don't know why I got so invested in it, but like the book did make an impression on me. It did stand out from the rest of the books that I read so far. So I thought The Silent Patient was a great read. It's a very simple thriller, plot twist kind of thing, but the nuances of it all are top notch. So I would recommend it to anybody who's into that kind of thing. It's not too dense. You can just like get through it. It's a pretty good book. I'm like, it should be a series on Netflix or something, but I don't know, maybe someday. But yeah, next book in this series. So the third book in the top 3 books of my year is not a book, it's a series. It's called The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. Now his name I know because I've read so many of his books because of the Stormlight Archive. Like the series itself is like 5 books, and then I read 3 more, I think 4 more at least, so obviously I would remember his name. But yeah, Stormlight Archive, where do I begin? It's something that I picked up because I just wanted like a series or something that I could like just kind of read. I didn't really go into it expecting too much because by this time I had kind of like given up on hoping for good series or something like that, because I did try like the Assassin's Apprentice series by Robin Hobb, which is also doing the rounds on Instagram, like bookstagram, but it just really wasn't for me at all. Like the whole book I was like, why is this guy such a weakling? So, and then like that kind of put me off of like reading any kind of fantasy series, like epic fantasy series. And also like I did give Game of Thrones series, the book series, a try, and they were like so all over the place, to be honest. It just wasn't something that I was into. I did get into the Wheel of Time books by Robert Jordan, and they were good, but then they do have a lot going on in them. So I almost forgot what the books are about even. I probably have to do a reread if possible, but yeah. Anyways, so the Stormlight Archive is also highly recommended on Bookstagram. I know I am taking my recommendations only from Instagram or other social media hubs, but that's like the only place I know that I can get recommendations really quick. So yeah, where to even begin? The first book put me off. Because like, not put me off, no, I'm so sorry. No, that's not right. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, Brandon Sanderson. Please don't smite me. No, I meant to say that like the first book, right? It's like not the right book that you want to read if you want to get into Brandon Sanderson universe. And I really appreciate the guy's creativity because he didn't even do like world building, he did a universe building. Like that's insane. Like he has a whole universe where all his characters are based in, and like they're all from different planets, they're all kind of interconnected with each other, and it's just so well done. Like it's every book I just get surprised, and like every time you would open like a new book of the Stormlight Archive series, and the thing in my Kindle, like it shows the time left in the book, and it would say like 96 hours left in the book, and I would get so happy because like 96 hours of pure lore. Like I live for lore. Like it is the one thing that keeps me going. I don't know what, like I just love when they, take a step back from the story and tell you all about what the world is, the kind of stories that, like the kind of foundations that they have for like magic systems, or like the gods or the religions, or like the cultures, the species hierarchies, stuff like that. Like that's just so, it for me, like if I had the chance to go back to college with infinite money and no stakes involved, I would probably take like anthropology or something, because that's also kind of lore if you think about it. I don't know if I'm right about that, but yeah. So I just really love lore, and Brandon Sanderson has tons and tons of it. And Stormlight Archive is the most lore stuffed book of his, series of his. And I went into it with none of that information. I thought it was just a random book called The Way of Kings, and I was just reading it. The prologue was a whole lot of information. It was like about it had so many things. It had people, it had swords, I didn't know what was going on. And the first chapter was something else entirely. It was about the murder of a king, and it's a pivotal scene that gets picked up in every single book. Every book starts with the murder of that same king from different perspectives. It is so good. I can't even, like, it's so good. Like, it has everything perfectly done. So well done. So, I mean, if you want to go into the plot, but I mean, I wouldn't be able to without having like a whiteboard behind me and like a tree of all the characters. And I would like probably have to do like a series of videos just to kind of talk about the story of it all. But it's like, it's a very good story. It's about this people. Spoiler alert. Anyways, it's about this people in a planet, in a world where there's magic, kind of, and it's a very commonplace kind of magic, because like the magic is basically like, imagine if there's a fairy, or like a, not a fairy, I would say, like kind of like a physical entity representing every single thing in the world. Like, let's say like I'm feeling fear, there would be a spren for it. A spren is the term that he uses to call these things. So like a small creature or like a thing that pops up whenever you feel fear, like a fear spren would pop up. If I'm having anxiety, an anxiety spren would pop up. If I'm feeling great about myself, a glory spren would pop up. And even elements have spren too, like wind has wind spren, fire has fire spren, stuff like that. And they don't talk or anything, they just kind of exist. It's almost like having insects or stuff like that. Like how, like that would be the way that I would put it for like in human terms, is that there's just these NPC kind of things that are just around you, basically. Yeah. And so the story is about a king that gets murdered. That's the beginning of it all. He's murdered by this assassin who nobody has ever seen. He has magical powers that they have never seen. He's able to fly, like, walk on the walls. He's able to like make people get like, he's like able to like make people fly up and like get stuck to the wall, and like they can't do anything about it. And he breaks in during a feast where the human population is trying to have a treaty with this other species. I forgot the name of the species. Oh my god, where's my phone? Oh yeah, so the other species is called the Parshendi, the Parshmen, because basically it's like a species of things, like of animals or creatures that are not exactly human. Like they do have humanoid like bodies, but they have carapaces, or you would say like shells all over them, and they are called the Parshendi. And then there's another set of these same kind of creatures, but a bit different. They're softer, they're more human looking, and they're very dumb. They don't know what's going on around them, what to do. These are called the Parshmen, and they are enslaved by the humans. So when the king is killed, right, like this is a very crucial time in the human history of that world, where they're trying to sign a treaty with the Parshendi, the warrior kind of the species, to kind of be on friendly terms with humans. But then it turns out that the Parshendi admit to sending the assassin, and the humans and the Parshendi get sent into a whole war. So the war is headed by the king's brother called Dalinar Colin. He is a broken man. He has so much going on for him. And I would like to say that in all of Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive books, each and every character is going through a lot. And it's not in that kind of the usual gory epic fantasy way that they're just going through a lot, as in like they have to kill a lot of people, or they're like they've seen horrors. It's nothing like that. It's just that they're wrestling with the things that they have done themselves, with the wrong doings that they have done themselves, with the fact that they would have to hide themselves from people that might love them, or the fact that they have to make peace with the fact that they are the way that they are. These are things that are separate from the whole epic fantasy part of it. I mean, they are very integral, obviously, when the person kind of comes to that conclusion, or when they take that step to forgiving themselves, or not beat themselves up. Those are crucial points of the stories, but like, it's such a different aspect of the books that kind of took a hold of me, because sure, like, every author in every kind of series with this kind of characters that might go through a lot might talk about the characters getting over it, or like, coming to terms with it. But the way that Brandon Sanderson does it is that they just don't wake up one day, or like, they don't just snap. Like, it's not like a Power of Friendship kind of thing where everything's solved in one go. It's like the whole book has these characters wrestling and wrestling and wrestling, and at the end they're like, wait. So that is just really, really well done. So Dalinar Kholin, as I was saying, is leading the charge against the Parshendi. The war has been going on for 6 years by the time we're introduced to him. And there's this another character called Kaladin Stormblessed. He is a 19-year-old guy who's been sold into slavery, who's been betrayed by his superior, and he was sold into slavery, and who is making his way, like, his slave master is taking him to Dalinar's war camp so he can sell him there. And Kaladin is also a very tortured individual. He has a lot of baggage, a lot of past, and he gets put in the most sacrificial kind of job in the war camps. When he's sold, he's literally in charge of like carrying the bridges that they would have to use to cross the valleys to fight the Parshendi. Like, basically they would have to carry the bridges, and then they would have put them down over there, let them carry it. So basically they would have to be in the front of the troops every single time, and when they get to the Parshendi kill them first, because first come first serve, basically. So it's literally you're just they're just bodies sent to the slaughter, and he's put in that kind of job, and it's just the start of his story. Like, he goes through so much. He motivates himself, he motivates the people around him, he figures out a way to make sure that they don't die, and he comes up, like, he grows into like an influential character, and he's my favorite character because he goes through so much, and it's not just that he's like, oh hey, I'm going through so much, but it's okay, I'm Kaladin Stormblessed, I can get through it. No, he hates himself so much. He's so depressed. He is the most depressed soldier that I've ever seen, and he gets through it, and it's just so very well done. And we have another character called Shallan. She's also on her way to Dalinar Kholin's camp. She is a very troubled individual. She draws. She's into art, and she wants to, get married into a good family so that she can get the money to save her family from debt. Basically, that's her driving force in the beginning, and then she gets embroiled in the whole Dalinar Kholin's war camps and stuff. So basically, these three characters meet. They don't necessarily meet, or they're not like part of a group or something, but they are the pillar characters that you get introduced to in the first books. And then there's so many other people, so much happening. There's so much of like politics. There's so much intrigue. There's magic. There's lost magic, basically. It's just very insane. Like, I know I picked this book as a top 3 book series to talk about, but there is so much that I could say, but it will still not be enough. It's just that it's something that I just want anyone who's watching this to like give it a read or listen if possible. I'm not sure if there's an audiobook of this series, but you really, 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 really should try it out. it's not like, oh, there's so much fantasy or like so much of that whole wars and stuff like that, but it's more about the humanness of it all, like the human experience of it all. Like there are some passages that I can put up over here if if I want. I mean, I do want to, so I will. But the way that they come to these terms, there's this one scene where Dagnar Colin is being told to figure out what the next step is in his head. Like there's this creature, or not creature, like an entity kind of telling him to figure out what the next step is, and he spends the whole book trying to figure out what the next step is in the journey while they're fighting the wars. And towards the end, he realizes, he's throughout the book, so throughout the book, he's made to face the fact that he has done so much wrong in his life, and that kind of makes him feel like there's nothing more that he can do to redeem himself or do anything. He's just stuck in this endless cycle of self-pity, self-hatred, and self-deprecation. And towards the end, he realizes that the next step that a man can take or a human can take is the next step. The next step that the person can take is the next step. So I don't know, Brandon Sanderson does a better job of it, but what he's trying to say and what I'm trying to say is that the next best thing that you can do in wherever you are in your life is to take the next step. Just keep going is basically what he's saying. It's like, make peace with the fact that you have done wrong, or you have messed up, or life has been unfair to you, and just don't stay there. Is what the message is that don't get bogged down by it all. Like, take the next step, no matter what it is. It could be a destructive one, it could be a redemptive one, but just take the next step. That's one of the things that Brandon Sanderson does. And there's another passage where Kaladin is really going through it. He is reminded of all his past misdeeds. He's reminded of all the failings of his own, the way that he has betrayed his family or his brother who has died because of him and stuff like that. And he sees no way out. And there's this other character who tells him a story and tells him that, it's going to be this way for a while, but it always gets worse before it gets better. These are all things that we all know. These are all things that, you keep hearing in different ways, in every single kind of media, like the only way out is through. Those are the same kind of messages that Brandon Sanderson also gives, but the way that he gives them, the way that he brings the characters to their knees and uplifts them from there, while also giving them a release in the story as well. Like, suppose, let's say Kaladin is doesn't have his powers or something, and he doesn't know what to do, and then he comes to this realization, and he's back, is yeah, let's go, and he just kills a bunch of things. So it's a very it kind of pays off. There's a lot of teasing for the moment, and then the moment comes, and it crashes. So they call it a Sanderlanche, like an avalanche, and like an avalanche, but like a Sanderlanche, like a Sanderson plus avalanche, Sanderlanche. So yeah, so the books are amazing. There were parts that would literally make me scream internally in joy because of the great things that the characters do. There are so many revelations that happen. There is so much happening, and I just wanted to talk about it. I needed an excuse to talk about it to somebody, so I thought I would just talk about it to the camera. But yeah. So yeah, I would recommend Stormlight Archive to literally anybody. You can be into anything, but you would like Stormlight Archive series. That's for sure. So yeah, that's my top 3 books of 2026. I hope I did a good job of talking about them, describing them to you, what the books made me feel, and hopefully maybe towards the end of the year I'll do another top 3 and see if they've changed or if there's any new entries, new bombshells in the villa, stuff stuff like that. So yeah, stay tuned for the next one. I don't know what I'll do for the next one. Maybe I'll talk about my favorite series, my top 3 series of 2026 or something. Or maybe I could talk about this game that I play. Yeah, I could talk about that. I don't want to say the name. It's like so special to me. But yeah, I think I'll do a video about my favorite game. I know it sounds so self-centered, but it's just like, I mean, I do like to treat this as a little video diary or whatever, so that I can just talk and yap and have nobody else correct me or say something. So yeah. Anyways, see you in the next one. See you later, alligator. Bye. Oh, also, I know I did this last time, so I just wanted to show off my nails that my sister did again. So it's this apple-themed thing that she did with green and red. So this was the sparkly red nail polish that we found, and then there was this olive green thing that we had. So here you go. This is also my favorite. It's like, an apple cut in half. It's a bit botchy because, she's still learning, obviously. But still, a very cute design, if I may. So yeah, see you guys in the next video. Bye.